It's been a busy week at Purdue. Obviously, Ryan Walters introduced as the new head coach. Drew Brees helping out. And, of course, they had a couple of decisions with O'Connell and Trice in the NFL. And Alan Karpick, he is a part of goldandblack.com, a part of the On3 Network, joins us on 365 Sports. You're the publisher, right, Alan?
I am. That happens to be, that's my day job. But no, it's been a wild week at Purdue, and probably more of a conversion. They also have a number one basketball team, so it's just been crazy in terms of not only the football stuff, but obviously with Matt Painter's basketball team doing well. Never a dull moment in West Lafayette these days.
Hey, that's a good thing. That is a great thing. I remember the Purdue teams with Gene Cady because I'm old, so good for you on that. So Ryan Walters, what's been the reaction? What has been the overall kind of feel for him being the coach replacing Brom?
Well, I think initially there was some surprise because I think that you always think, well, you're going to get an established coach, you're going to get a head coach with offensive experience. If you're a Purdue fan, that's what you would expect it. They went the other way. They got a guy that's defensive coordinator, one of the four youngest coaches in the Power Five, the youngest coach in Purdue history, or the youngest coach dating back to 1947 in terms of Ryan Walters. I really liked him in his initial press conference. I think he brings a lot to the table. He's going to have a big job in front of him, as any coach does at Purdue. Purdue's not a program that has to scratch and claw to get to the places it gets to typically, and I think he is very intriguing from that standpoint.
So a little bit of a philosophy shift from an offensive guy to a defensive guy, but that style travels really well, and it's bad weather in the Big Ten a lot of the time. Do you think that they will still be an offensive-based team, or will this team look more like Illinois did last year?
No, it's going to be. I have to believe it'll still be an offensive-based team. In fact, Ryan Walters said that yesterday in his introductory press conference. We're going to try to score points in bunches. That is kind of the Purdue way. He said that they basically raised their pool for assistant coaches up about 35% from when they had on Jeff Brom's staff, and it gives them a chance to get talent from an assistant coach standpoint. You're going to be tested a little bit in terms of what your network's like, who you're going to get to work with you. Ryan Walters didn't want guys with egos, but they want to score points for West Lafayette. And their defense actually statistically over the even in the Jeff Brom area, the defenses historically had higher rankings than the offenses. It's hard to believe, but this is a thing that still offense puts people in the stands. And Jeff Brom, you have to give Jeff Brom a lot of credit for restoring the fan base to coming to Ross State Stadium. They played at almost 100% capacity this year.
So Aiden O'Connell, among some players that's going to skip out on the Cheez-It Bowl against LSU. Also, Payne Durham, tight end, stellar wide receiver, and Charlie Jones and Corey Trice, cornerback. Just kind of the era that we're in. Any surprise there? And kind of what does that do in terms of how Purdue fans, media will view this upcoming bowl game?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with it. And then you couple the fact that Drew Brees has agreed to come up and be an assistant coach. And, I mean, it's just and they really felt when they hired or when they named Brian Brom, Jeff's 15-year younger brother, as the head coach. I think that had something to do with keeping O'Connell. I think O'Connell is a great guy. He's gone through a family tragedy 3 days before the game against the Old Oak Bucket game against Indiana, where his brother was unexpectedly died. All those things could be playing into it. Obviously, Aiden is going to try to make a run at the NFL as well. And Charlie Jones, another huge loss. There's a guy, second-team All-American, was set the Purdue record for receiving yardage this year. I don't know. And it's the broad stroke problem, guys. I think you got to figure out a way. I don't know how to solve this, but the fact that the transfer portal, National Signing Day, all those things come in December, make it easy for coaches to go, make it easier for guys to opt out. And you're going to have a shell of Purdue's football team. LSU, I know, has had a couple opt-outs, but this is the big bowl. This is the biggest bowl Purdue's played in 19 years. And the fact that the Boilermakers are going to be playing without their best players and a team that was 8-5 in the first place, is a little bit troubling if you're a Purdue fan.
I was looking at the roster online because I didn't know it off the top of my head. There's a couple of freshmen, a couple of redshirt sophomores. They have a ton of quarterbacks. I would want to play quarterback for Jeff Brom, too, if he was there. But they seem to be okay, and I don't know about anything about National Signing Day. Is the quarterback room good?
The quarterback room may be good. It's inexperienced. And now they have Austin Burton, also a six-year senior UCLA transfer that I would expect, though I can't be really sure, would get the nod as starter. He's a little bit more of a runner than Aiden O'Connell. He had to play a game this year against Florida Atlantic when O'Connell was injured, and he's got some experience. He started a game or two for UCLA out on the West Coast. So before he transferred to Purdue, I would expect, though, again, you just don't know what they're going to do. But yeah, Michael Alamo, and Brady Allen, two pretty good. Brady Allen from Indiana, Southern Indiana, pretty highly regarded guy, 4-star quarterback. They like him, but he hasn't played at all. And Alamo has played a little bit, not much. I would anticipate Burton's going to call. So yes, they have. The Purdue quarterbacks, they're not without skill, but they certainly are without a lot of experience in an offense that is going to need to somehow generate some points to be competitive against the Bayou Bengals.
Alan, how do they feel that Ryan Walters makes them ready for the new look Big Ten in 2024?
Well, I think the thing in his niche, Purdue is historically, when it's been successful, and it hasn't always been successful. It's been a middling program at best certainly over the last 15 to 20 years. Even Jeff Brom, who finished with a winning record, was 36-34. Now, that was a heck of a job because Purdue was a dumpster fire when he took the job in 2017 in terms of wins and losses. So he did a great job. But I think if Purdue needs a better mousetrap, typically, it's been offense a lot of times. You go all the way back to Joe Tiller in 1997. And he was a guy that brought basketball on grass to the Big Ten and really changed the face of the Big Ten a little bit in terms of passing offense, and had that Washington State connection, kind of like Mike Leach. And my point is that Purdue has been Purdue's MO. Purdue, you got to think about this, guys. Purdue has not had back-to-back winning coaches since 1936. Oof. So that's the challenge for Ryan Walters. I like the fact that he's young. I think he's going to connect well with players. I think he has a good chance in today's transfer portal NIL world that we're in right now to really resonate with guys. But he is inexperienced. So the proof will be in the pudding. He's going to have to make good hires as assistant coaches. All coaches, good coaches, have good chiefs of staff, so to speak. Guys that can keep him focused on what he needs to focus on. He's an impressive guy. He did a great job at Illinois with the defense. And I think he would have had Deion Sanders not gotten the job at Colorado. I think Ryan Walters was next in line there. He's a Colorado grad. Obviously, Sanders took the job there. But so I think all things point to intrigue and I think positive. But again, Purdue has a very daunting schedule for Purdue next year. They play Fresno State, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. There are no layups in the non-conference. In addition to Ohio State and Michigan are back on the schedule. Ohio State and Michigan were not on Purdue's schedule in the regular season this year. Of course, Purdue played Michigan in the Big Ten Championship. My point is, you want to start that first year off with some level of success. It's going to be a big challenge. It would have been a big challenge for Jeff Brom had Jeff Brom returned for the Purdue to be a bowl team in 2023. But again, it's going to be fun to watch this guy go. He's got a great personality. I think he's the right guy from that standpoint.
I loved the scholarship being awarded. His very first meeting, that clip that went viral. That was awesome. And kind of a good way to start things off. But you mentioned Brom again. I wanted to ask you just kind of what was the feel? I mean, going back and revisiting that sudden move to Louisville, I'm sure there were some thoughts when the Louisville job came open of like, this could be a possibility. But how did kind of the Purdue fan base react to that move?
Well, it was more than a possibility. I mean, I think everybody was surprised that on that Monday morning that Scott Satterfield was named the head coach of Cincinnati. But once that door opened, it wasn't a possibility. It was an eventuality. I mean, it was going to happen. And I think most of the fan base got it. I don't think I think Purdue got it from that standpoint where they knew that this was likely. And to be very honest, Jeff Brom, not that he wore out his welcome in West Lafayette, but this is probably as good a time as any to move on. Certainly for him, gives Purdue a chance to go a little bit different direction. Louisville always was home. You got to remember too, and not that it would have been on your guys' radar screen, but back in 2018, his brother, his dad, begged him basically to take the job when Louisville job came open at that point when Bobby Petrino was fired, and that didn't happen. And Jeff Brom kind of bucked his own family to stay in West Lafayette, and that didn't sit well with his family for a long time. So there was no doubt that this was going to happen. It was just a question of when. It happened to be in December of 2022 when it all came down.
Hey, Alan, you've been great, but I want to ask you about Matt Painter in number 1 Purdue, because obviously we're in Central Texas. We cover Baylor quite a bit, but we've really become more national in many ways. What a start, right? Incredible team. It's early. College basketball's hard, but they do look very, very good.
Shocking, really, that they are number 1. I mean, when you lose basically 4 starters from last year, a team that was disappointing to some extent, only got to the Sweet 16, did not win the Big Ten, but it was ranked for the first time last year as number 1 in the country just for 1 week. Purdue now back at number 1. I don't think anybody saw that coming. This is a team that if you love basketball, they're fun to watch. They share the basketball. They've got 2 freshmen that are just really, it's not an overstatement to say they're lighting the world on fire, at least college basketball. When you beat Duke and you beat Gonzaga, crazy statistic, no team has beaten 2 teams in the top 10 by 18 points or more, dating back to UCLA in 1968 when they beat Houston in the Big E in the Final Four in Los Angeles. That's how long it's been. And Purdue did that with a very young team, but it goes 10 deep. There are a lot of interchangeable parts, but Zach Edey, the 7'4" center, has really developed not only offensively, but he's a voracious rebounder, and there ain't anybody bigger than him in college basketball, and he is something that teams are going to have to deal with. Now, Nebraska last week did a good job with him, limited his shots. Edey still got a boatload of rebounds, but Purdue managed to get out of Lincoln alive and get its number 1 ranking. It'll play Davidson on Saturday. I think Purdue's got a chance to be undefeated heading into the new year. If it goes well, it should. They'll be heavy favorites to their last 3 games of 2022. And then it gets tough because they'll play Rutgers and then, of course, go to Ohio State as well. But this is a team that's really balanced and has no real weaknesses. But they're not chock full of – there are no 5 stars on this team either. Just a very, very balanced team, a fun team if you love basketball, and a team that shares the ball. They're really fun to watch. And Letcher, Lawyer, and Smith are just really something as true freshmen coming in. Kind of Indiana schoolboy kids. One from Westfield, Braden Smith, the point guard. Letcher Lawyer from Fort Wayne. Caleb First, also from Fort Wayne, a sophomore, has been good. They've had different guys contribute at different times. Even David Jenkins Jr., a transfer from Utah, who's come in and kind of the old you guys are like me. You're older. You remember the microwave at Vinnie Johnson with the Pistons. He's that type of player. He can and he seems to be very comfortable. He was a starter at Utah. He's comfortable in his role coming off the bench and really contributing. And so far so good. This team can be good. It's going to lose games, guys. There's no way this team's going through. They're not going to be the next 1976 Indiana Hoosiers. But I do think this team, and when they're all coming back, assuming Edey comes back next year, which is an assumption, this team is really going to be loaded for bear for years to come.
Well, Vinnie Johnson played here at Waco at Baylor, so absolutely a legend here as well as he is in Detroit with his businesses and what he does. I'm so glad, Alan, I got a hold of you today. We really wanted to talk Purdue, and glad you were available. Appreciate what you've done with the site. I know you're a part of now on3.com, Black and Gold. It's a great site. I've been on it throughout the day. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck in all of what you do. Which gets most of the attention? Purdue basketball, transfer portal, recruiting rankings, the coaching search. Which one is the one that feeds the animal right now?
Well, this year, the last few weeks, the coaching search, but really this is still it hinges a little bit more as a basketball school, just a little bit more. It's not quite like Kansas, maybe in Indiana, when it comes to that. And though Kansas had a pretty good year in football, but my point is it teeters on that a little bit. But there's a lot of interest in Purdue football here, obviously, and Purdue's got an identity with its quarterback. They're not a great program, but they can be a solid one, and that's what Ryan Walters is charged with, to try to get that done in his tenure in West Lafayette.
Thank you, Alan. Alan Karpick again, Black and Gold with the On3 umbrella and network, with us on Ryan Walters. Jeff Brom's leaving for Louisville, and of course some transfer offers. I mean, the roster in flux, like so many others in college athletics.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be really